This brief presentation is to update you on where we are at in developing the Coquitlam Heritage Management Strategy and walk you through the contents of the first draft section delivered to you via email in early June. First, to reiterate what the project is, an overarching, comprehensive, and integrated heritage framework for Coquitlam, you can see a summary of the project on the left. On the right is a screenshot of the document's table of contents. The dark gray and green sections are the 4 pieces we have developed to date, all related to Part 1, A Fresh Understanding. The first section of Part 1, What's Already Been Done, summarizes a literature review of all previous heritage initiatives and programs in the city's history so that we can understand how we came to where we are at. We'd appreciate your eyes on this section, especially from those who have some history at the city. We're still in the process of interviewing past staff and locating crucial documents and meeting minutes to complete the full chronology. So this section will be updated once more for your next review. But the goal of today's workshop, as you've heard, is really to examine together sections 1.2 and 1.3, which are more subjective than factual and require input from staff, council, and the community to make sure we get them right. Coquitlam's heritage themes and the vision for heritage in Coquitlam. Coquitlam's heritage themes is the section from pages 11 to 17 in your document, where we have proposed 6 themes unique to Coquitlam, which will serve as foundation to the heritage strategy and will inform all decision making around heritage conservation into the future. So this is very important to get right. But first, let me tell you what a thematic framework is. In heritage conservation, thematic frameworks are the new black, although actually a very old tool used by the American National Park Service as far back as the 1930s. The thematic framework has only been used in Canada since we switched to values-based conservation in the early 2000s. The organizing of a community's heritage into themes is an excellent fit for values-based conservation and heritage management, in that it can support a broad, layered, and inclusive perspective of heritage resources. Values-based conservation, which is considered best practices today, is not limited to physical sites, nor is it based solely on aesthetics or age, but involves a more broad, layered, and deep understanding of our heritage, including social and cultural values, and even dark or negative heritage values. Organizing a community's heritage into overarching themes is a helpful, inclusive, and robust tool which is used all over the world today. Thematic frameworks seek to succinctly encapsulate the history, physical character, and central stories of a community. Thematic frameworks create a web of relationships and storylines linking the community's history, heritage values, and heritage resources, and thematic frameworks examine the question of representativeness and draw attention to gaps in existing history. These are our proposed theme titles for Coquitlam, with each theme unpacked in the document on pages 12 to 17. The individual themes are the components of Coquitlam's proposed thematic framework. What are themes and how are they developed? They are key ideas for describing major historical forces or processes which have contributed to the history and evolution of a place. They help to conceptualize past events. They help to place sites, people, and events into their historical context. A true theme or a well-developed theme will resonate with all periods of a community's history and with all of the inhabitants of that community over time. I'd like to give you some examples of how themes can be an excellent tool for heritage management and interpretation and how they are used. First and foremost, a link between a heritage resource and one or more themes helps to determine a site's comparative significance in a local, regional, national, or even international context. This aids the process of determining which sites should be conserved or even protected. For example, we can ask, is this the last site in Coquitlam that represents this heritage theme? Is this a site that is linked to all 6 themes? By using the thematic framework as a sounding board for evaluating heritage resources regarding their specific significance to Coquitlam, we're able to make consistent and justified conservation decisions. A thematic framework helps us to identify and manage a range of sites that represent aspects of local, regional, national, or international history. Gaps in the stories of particular neighborhoods can be identified, facilitating the management and interpretation of additional heritage resources. The idea of representativeness can also be used as a tool to select the best examples of a particular type of heritage resource, given that capacity for the management and interpretation of historic sites will always be limited. Themes can allow greater depth of on-site interpretation. A variety of stories can be told about most sites, and thematic frameworks can be used to identify the different stories, as well as provide some basis for deciding which stories should receive most attention in the interpretive program. A thematic framework can be used as a tool to show how a historic place or historic events which took place at a local site fit into wider regional, national, and even international stories. This, in turn, illustrates that history is not a series of isolated events, but part of wider stories that connect people around the world. It reiterates that the reason we value historic places is because of our connection to them, our stories around them, and not necessarily because of their physical structure or aspects, if at all. Thematic frameworks can help promote the inclusion of stories of minorities, overlooked or marginalized groups in the interpretation of sites and ensure the representation of sites that might otherwise go unrecognized. This isn't to be fair or politically correct, but as part of acknowledging that heritage conservation, like historic documentation, has tended to prioritize the perspective of groups that mattered to the author or expert. Today, values-based conservation instructs us that heritage is a community-led discipline, and it is important to find and include all voices that have a connection to this place. Heritage is really about people's meaningful connection to a place and shouldn't be restricted to the dominant narrative. So you can begin to see how a solid thematic framework for Coquitlam, which is embraced and integrated, can be a touchstone for all decisions around heritage in Coquitlam, and even inform projects or initiatives that don't appear to be heritage projects at first glance or have a heritage aspect to them. The framework can help strengthen Coquitlam's distinctive identity and story and customize decisions based on a fresh, deeper understanding of this place. This is a tool that can give confidence and consistency to decisions in Coquitlam, from initial questions at the inquiry desk to complex developments and council priorities. These are the proposed heritage themes for Coquitlam. We will be looking for your feedback as to whether they resonate and if we need to make any adjustments. This will be part of the work we do in today's sessions, along with a first stab at fine-tuning a vision for heritage conservation in Coquitlam.